All right, what is up, everybody? We are live for the 25.3 live show. We just finished 25.3. The leaderboard closes in 2 minutes, so we'll see kind of what maniacs are frantically uploading their videos and trying to get their scores put in time. Hopefully, you put in the right tiebreak time. We'll see about that. So we're here. We're going to get this party started in a second. In fact, we've already got somebody sitting in the studio backstage that we're going to bring in a moment here. And you can also scan this QR code to get into the show, or you can go to YouTube, and in the live show description is a link to join the show as well. We'll cue that up a couple of times throughout the show as we're getting into it. But since we got somebody in the studio, let's bring them in. Here we go. What is up? How's it going, Kirsten?
It's going good.
Good. How has the open been for you?
A little stressful at times.
Okay. So I don't
Just
think
trying to get
we've,
everything done.
yeah, just trying to get it all done.
Yeah, like make sure everything's videoed, especially this last one. Definitely took up a lot of real estate within the gym.
Mm-hmm. For
So,
sure.
yeah, trying to make sure everything's on point. I'm not missing any standards or anything. So
Yeah.
checking all the boxes.
Good, good. I don't think we've actually really had a conversation before. So tell me a little bit about yourself. You're a neuro minor.
I am a minor neuro. I was born with neurofibromatosis, type 1, spontaneous genetic mutation, and that kind of affects my gross and fine motor skills.
Okay.
And I don't have the hormone that suppresses tumor growth. So I have a lot of both internal and external tumors, and
Okay.
ended up with cancer in 2018.
Wow.
So lost my entire sciatic nerve, hamstrings and adductors, my right leg. So learning how to re-navigate life after that.
So you wear an AFO on your right leg, right?
I do.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
if I don't, there's a good chance I'm going to trip over my own foot.
Right, because your your foot's just gonna drop,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. Like
Yeah.
drop foot, no function in the ankle joint, so it's still attached, it's there, but it doesn't really do much for me.
Wow. Wow. And is your disability that causes the growth of tumors, is that similar to Morgan Ramos's? Have you met
Um,
Morgan or heard her story?
yeah, she was just on the
Yeah.
adaptive thing. It's a little bit different.
Okay.
It just like it's neurofibromin that most people have that like stops tumor growth. Mine, I don't produce that, so it just kind of gone haywire.
Okay. Gotcha.
Um, and
So
it
how'd the open go for you?
um, there's a lot of good wins there. A lot of them were like in that second workout, with the pull-ups and everything, which is something
Yeah.
I've been really working on for the past few years, really. And when that happened back in 22.3, I had, it was jumping pull-ups at that point for us. I got through those, couldn't get a single pull-up. This time I got my pull-ups, double unders, almost in the same amount of time that I got my pull-ups in. So I need to work on my double unders coming up for
Okay.
semifinals. And I got 2 chest to bar. So that was like a huge win.
That's awesome.
That
That's really cool. I love those workouts that have increasing difficulty gymnastics or barbell weights, because they do, for a lot of us, they give us a nice win.
Yeah. And like it gives everyone a chance to play for a while and then get that big PR that, you feel really proud of. I saw a lot of things in like some Facebook groups, not necessarily with the adaptive athletes, because adaptive athletes are like, gung ho, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get better.
Hmm.
But, people complaining that, oh, the scaled variant had pull ups. And,
Right, right.
like I coach. So, like, I was telling a lot of my athletes, well, what are you more proud of? Getting that first pull up or getting a really fast time with something you already know you can do?
Right.
And it's like using those things to do better and to show your growth. And like I know we had an athlete get like 11 pull-ups. Started out
Wow.
like got 11 pull-ups in the workout, and that pride in that. Or one of our athletes got like 3 wall walks that had not done that before. So the pride in those things that you can get done that you haven't done before far exceeds winning something with something easier.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. I agree with that. I'm glad that they challenge us as adaptives and as able-bodied athletes too.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I don't want it to be easy.
hmm.
There's not fun in that.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So do you train in Ocala?
I do.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in Tampa, so we're not too far from each other.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did you get any of the tornadoes yesterday?
No, we got some kind of nasty weather, but like
Yeah.
no tornadoes on my. I did have a friend who said something about like her house getting hit with lightning.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So there were some rough storms, but we were thankfully spared. How
Good.
about you guys?
We were fine. Just some rain and wind, but it wasn't too bad. Hey, so I want to go through the leaderboard if you don't mind taking a
All
look
right,
at it with me. You can introduce us to some of the athletes in your division. I thought that'd be fun.
sure.
As you know of them, and then if there's a division where you know a few more people too, I'd love to pop in there too. So let's see, minor females. So yeah, does this look like the normal cast of characters?
Yeah, we like this year there's some people who were in the standing diagnosed last year who've moved over into the minor
Mm,
neuro world. But a lot of repeat offenders from last year,
yeah.
going for it again. Sarah is also another Central Florida CrossFit athlete here.
Oh, fun.
Uh, yeah, she's I think Eustis.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So right in our area. I've been talking with Rachel throughout some of this open, like we'll chat back and forth.
Yeah.
So even though we're all competing, and like Allison's from Tampa too.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I met her at the airport when we were coming back from San Antonio.
Yeah, so
That was a
there's
fun
a lot of
surprise.
Floridians,
Yeah.
going for this one again.
Yep.
But even though we're all competitors, we're all like really friendly with each other. We're all there to help each other out, and it's just a great group in general.
Yeah. Oh, I love this Shannon's. I love this Shannon's, or on the leaderboard. I know she's
Yeah,
not gonna go through to the games. She might go through to semis, just have some fun, but that's cool too.
yeah,
Um, yeah. Awesome. Let's see here. Alyssa Cabela. She made it to the CrossFit Games, right?
yeah,
1 year. Okay.
yeah. She was there with us last year.
Awesome. Well, what's one thing that stood out to you from this Open?
Um, I think kind of just the fact that there's very little break that we get
Hmm.
in a lot of the workouts. Like they're challenging us to push our absolute limits. It's not like, oh, you're an adaptive, here's a really easy workout. Um there's a lot of times I was talking with other athletes at my gym and they're like they didn't get, you still have to use a 35-pound dumbbell, and I'm like, yeah, you
Yeah.
know like we can, so we should.
Hmm.
We shouldn't just get a break because we have an impairment, because that really wouldn't be like in the spirit of everything either.
Yeah.
Um, so the fact that, there's not a lot of break, and, I do appreciate the fact that it's like a challenge and
Hmm.
that we're not signing up to go do, oh, here's your 15-pound dumbbell or,
Right. It's not overly scaled. Yeah. Yeah. So, how are the weights different on 25.2 for you guys,
um,
or 25.3? I mean,
25.3.
so
It
the
was
deads, the
it was
cleans.
135 for the
Okay.
deadlifts, then 75, then 55.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So we
That's
did get a
nothing
little
to
bit of
slouch
break,
at.
and I appreciate the break in the deadlift because I'm really lifting with one functional hamstring,
Hmm.
because the others in the leg are not innervated or they're absent. They had to take them out because the tumor is attached to them.
Yeah. Jeez.
So
Good Lord.
the deadlifts took me a lot longer than I would have liked.
Yeah.
The snatches actually felt better than the deadlifts, and those were at the end of the workout. So I'm like, oh well, at least I do something well.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And what did you have for the wall walks? Did you have decline
Um,
push-ups?
no, we had the partial wall walk standard that
Oh
they
yeah.
had um back when CrossFit was taking care of the
Hmm.
open, and it was still measured to like our shoulder. So, we had the whole gym lines taped out, the female line, the male line, and then I get my standard and we have to measure it to my shoulder. And, I'm 5'6", so I'm not like incredibly tall,
Yeah.
but it just a little too tall for the female line. So in between the
Mm,
two lines, we had to put a separate line for me. And I'm like, great. Luckily we had a third color of duct tape. Otherwise, it would have been really confusing for my judges. So I'm
Right,
trying to
right.
make it easy for them too. But
Nice.
it was the partial wall walk, and I've been practicing wall walks because we were kind of anticipating them being in the open.
Mhm.
So I've been practicing them full send, and like sometimes that was a little bit easier because I can't quite feel where my right leg is on the wall.
Yeah.
So like this way I'm like, hey, it's a win that I didn't face plant
Yeah,
because
that's
I
true.
was somewhat expecting that to happen. The first time I tried to demonstrate a few years ago when they came out, I was coaching. I'm like, okay, yeah, you just do this. And I hadn't tried one, but I'm like, I can do this. It won't
Mhm.
be a big deal. And both my feet slid off the wall and I like face planted. I'm like, oh, that's kind of embarrassing.
'Cause you can't press into the wall with your right foot.
N I have to be careful about, like, what shoes I wear. If I wear,
Yeah.
my older shoes, there's more wear on them,
Yep.
so I can't, like, quite get the same, like, grip on the wall, but I can't really press into it,
Mm.
so I just have to get the leg, like, up high enough so that my other leg really does the work.
Yeah. I think we have a mutual friend who just started watching the show.
Yeah,
Katie Howe.
yeah.
Yep. Katie
She,
did her first open.
I think she's from the Tampa area too?
Yeah, I think she's over in, Orlando or
Orlando,
Lakeland.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I know
somewhere.
she's a Florida girl.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, we ran into each other at a local comp, actually. We're like, "I know you from somewhere." And it
Yeah,
was yeah, yeah. Well, cool. I had one more question for you, and it kinda slipped my mind, so I'm gonna stall for a second and see if I can remember it. 3,
okay.
2, wait for it. Oh, do you have any idea of what's coming in semis?
Ooh, I do
You wanna
not.
take some guesses?
Um Well, I'm just looking at the things we have not yet seen,
Yeah.
and they're all the things that I hope I don't have to see. um, just like toe to bar, the handstand push-ups,
Yeah.
box jumps, like those are the things that we kind of missed in the open. And I don't know if they're gonna program them in semis. Going back and
Mm,
looking at like last year's semifinals programming,
yeah.
um, and previous years, there's been some times that it's been, you know, a burpee fest. We
Right,
just
right.
have a lot of different variations of burpees with devil's press, with, burpees over something, burpee box jumps. So I'd also like that not to happen.
I'll tell you what I'm looking forward to in semis though, man, is some different time domains.
Very much so.
Like, give me something, semis, we had some that were like I'm just looking at stuff from last year, like, 24.1, what was like a 13-minute workout. Uh, 24.2 was that back squat one. Remember that one?
Uh,
That was fun. I mean, well,
It
fun
was
for me.
awful. That
Probably
was
not fun for you.
awful for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, like
yeah.
my squat depth is questionable at
Oh,
best.
yeah,
Especially pressing through one leg, and
yeah.
they said we couldn't use a box for our depth for that workout. So I on that second bar, I face planted hard.
Mm,
Um, got
jeez.
back up, got it, and
Mhm.
then my coach, to her absolute credit, loaded the bar for my third
Mm,
attempt. I had no like real desire to attempt that,
yeah,
but I got up, I unracked it and put it back on the thing, and she's like, "I was afraid you were going for that." I'm like, "Listen, I may be crazy, but I'm not dumb."
yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not gonna go for something that I know might hurt me. So like that was not my favorite one, but like one of my favorites from things that they've done in the past, and only because I like rowing, they did like a 2K row,
Oh,
and then like you got a tie break time for your first 500 meters. So I'm like, hey, I wouldn't mind if that one came back
yeah.
again,
Yeah, that wouldn't be
um,
bad.
because I do like the rower,
Mhm. That'd be
the
good.
bike not so much.
Yeah, yeah. So any of the jumping movements and movements that really require you to do a two-footed takeoff are pretty tough.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's no two-footing anything. It's really
yeah.
just one foot takeoff. Double unders are pretty much they're done on one leg.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm like glad that they've kind of done away with the 2 foot requirement. And as long as both feet are in the air, I jump really well when
Mm.
I'm jumping to my right, but jumping to my left. Being able to push off that outside leg helps a lot, and just
Yeah.
on going to the left, it just doesn't happen.
So this is ignorant, and you don't have to answer it. But my curiosity is, would you ever compete in like lower BK?
Um, I we had questioned my classification because, like, between minor neuro or as a lower athlete,
Yeah.
And like I am starting to get to the point where I'm like, well, I think my leg is causing more of my issues,
Hmm.
or more profoundly affecting me in workouts, than necessarily all the neuro issues. I mean, I don't know what it's like to operate normally because I've never really gotten the chance to.
Yeah.
I was born with the condition, and I remember going through with my high school guidance counselor. They're going through my entire file. When you graduate,
Mm.
they kind of like go through everything. Like, oh, look, you couldn't stand on one foot with your eyes closed in kindergarten, and I'm like, I still can't do that. You know, so like all
Right.
those
Right.
balance tests, like I never had that. So a lot of times when I was filling out my classification paperwork, I'm like, I don't know how this affects me as compared to someone who doesn't have an impairment, because I haven't had that
Yeah.
chance. Because I was talking to a couple of neuro athletes a few years ago, and I'm like, well, yeah, I can go upside down. Um,
Hmm.
I just get really dizzy. Like it's completely normal to get really dizzy, and they're like, that's not normal. I'm like,
Yeah, that's not normal.
oh.
Right.
I'm like, I thought everyone got dizzy when they were like doing wall walks or attempting
Mm.
handstand push-ups or anything. I just thought it was a thing. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, apparently not.
Well, speaking of wall walks, our friend Katie hopes that no more wall walks show up in
Yeah.
the semis. But Kirsten, that sounds like a particularly tough case, right? Because the neuro functionality does get in the way of doing things upside down, or things that would like show up um, in a BK situation, right?
Yeah.
BK, you're gonna be going upside down for sure, right?
Yeah.
And
Or
so,
or even like, my injuries stems from like above my knee, even though like
yeah,
I
yeah,
have a semi-functional knee joint. It hyperextends quite frequently.
hmm,
Just because there's not that other side, the backside keeping it in place.
yeah,
Um, but that's something like after this season, I might consult with the wheelwad team and see
yeah,
what they think's going to be like the best for me, and also fair to the other competitors.
right.
Because
I wonder if,
uh,
oh, go ahead.
I never want to go into something being like the least disabled. I don't want to jump into something, to try to win and beat
Hmm.
everyone just because I have less of an impairment. Although, I don't get the benefit of moving my, removing, like, they can remove a prosthetic
Right.
if they need to. I can't get rid of my my leg
Yeah.
to help make things easier. Not
Right.
that, balancing on one leg makes anything easier.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But
But it gets it out of the way.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was like when I first got into it. I'm like, well, I do have neuro things, I do have nerve damage.
Hmm.
um but like I thought, all the neuros were the more what is representing the major neuro, and I'm like, well, I don't think
Right.
it's fair for me to just jump in and compete against them. But I do also have that, part
Yeah.
of the impairment where it does become difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. We just had Dustin McCallum pop up in the chat. Dustin,
Yeah.
welcome to the show. Good to see you, my friend. So I wonder if there would be any efficacy, Kirsten, in recording a couple of workouts that are AK workouts and just sending them over to Wheelwad. I don't know how the classification system works, but to be like,
Yeah.
hey, this is what this looked like, and felt almost giving them like a commentary. Hey, this is what this felt like for me, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
like I do look at the standards because I've had the conversation with my coach too of like, what would be more appropriate um for me with everything I have going on. And like maybe I should do that, just try it and say, hey, here's the side by side comparison
yeah.
of what it looks like with the minor neuro workout and what it looks like with the the lower workouts.
Yeah.
um Kind of say, hey, where's the best fit.
Yeah, yeah, because I think that data is so helpful. Here, Stephen Walker's also here. Just Stephen Walker. Shout out to One Wing and a Dub. I'm sorry, Stephen, if I got that handle wrong. I know it's One Wing and something. So sorry about that. You can correct me in the chat. But yeah, I wonder sometimes too, like with even neuromoderate, I feel like sometimes they sort of overscale us, where they take away some of our explosive movements that
Yeah.
would give some athletes, there it is, One Wing and Dub. There it is. They take away some explosive movements, and I've thought, gosh, I would love to record myself just doing that workout with the burpees over the dumbbell instead of burpees where you have to stand all the way up, right? Like,
Yeah.
and just see, okay, what was that stimulus like? And maybe I don't know better. Maybe I'm going to crash out, but it doesn't seem to me and I feel comfortable saying this, it doesn't seem to me like Wheelwatt has a massive test team, right? Demo team, because of the number of divisions they have to do, the number of workouts they have to adapt, that kind of thing. That that data might be helpful for them in planning future workouts.
Yeah, like I think that is like pretty accurate because it's impossible to simulate all of the impairments. Um, Even if you like have an impairment, like I couldn't
Right.
tell you how this is going to affect a major neuro, because like, the systemic fatigue for me is different than it is for them in the middle of a workout.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I couldn't tell you how it's going to affect, an upper athlete
Yeah.
because I am using two hands for everything, so I don't know how that's going to affect them.
Right.
I am so impressed when they're snatching one handed in the barbells and like not going all over the place to see
Yeah.
that. I mean, that is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
um like I wouldn't even dare try um that one, but yeah, like I think kind of seeing how it does affect things, because for me, I could do burpees far better than burpees over anything. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just a foot and a movement pattern, not necessarily like the fact that the dumbbell's that high, just having to jump over anything or even just jump over a
Right.
line is more of a challenge there. So
Yeah. That makes
like
sense.
I'd rather just have burpees. But sometimes like I would have I wanted to go for full wall walks. Like I
Yeah.
wanted to do it. Like I mean I don't know how that would have been for me, but
Mm.
like I was kind of looking forward to those.
Yeah. 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 Well, Kirsten, thanks so much for being with us,
Yeah.
for stopping in for a minute. I'm gonna say adios, and I'm
Okay.
gonna pop up the leaderboard and take a look at kind of some of the other divisions, pop through them for a little bit, and we'll see if some other people are gonna hop on the call, and we'll see how it goes. But stick around with us, Kirsten,
All right.
because I'm gonna pop you off back into the studio, but I'm gonna run through the leaderboard a little bit. Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
Awesome. See you in a little
Yep.
bit. Bye. All right, guys. So let's see here. Dustin's a little salty about some of the scaling options at the games where we couldn't run an 800-meter, but we were asked to climb a 12-foot rope. Granted, only to 10 feet, but still would have been a fun run at the end of that row and ski instead of, 70 cows on an echo bike. Come on, right? Oh, always salty? Yes, you are. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the leaderboard. And I'm going to remind y'all that if you want to join this chat, you can go on the YouTube page. What am I, 65? You can go to the YouTube live show that you're watching right now, and down in the video description is a link to join the chat, or the show. So you'll end up in the studio like Kirsten did, and I can pull you up on stage and we can chat, including able-bodied folks like Nick Pasquane. Nick, bro, you got to get in the show now. You got to rep your brand. This episode is not brought to you by Buckhead offices, but yeah, it's the one company I am sponsored by. Looking at you, Element. Looking at you. Okay, so let's look at the leaderboard, and we should have everything in now. I'm going to refresh this sucker. So I always start in upper, but I'm actually going to go to AK females. I want to see if Amy Bream did it. Oh, Amy Bream, where are you? Oh, whoops. These are the semis from last year. Might be. Okay. Everybody, don't panic. Don't panic. Oh, shoot. Sorry, Nick. It's Buckeye. I'm so sorry. I worked at a church in Buckhead, and so I will always get Buckeye and Buckhead confused. I know. I'm so sorry. Go the Ohio State University. Okay, we're back into CrossFitty things. So this is the actual leaderboard, and we're going to go to AK females. And Amy Bream did it, ladies and gentlemen. She is back and she is competing this year, and I am looking forward to seeing her throw down. Sometime after semis, we will get her on the pod to kind of hear her story, how she's been doing as a small business owner, what her training is like. I know she trains out of CrossFit East Nashville, I believe, what used to be the headquarters of Proven. Lauren Farhat's not far behind. Excited about that. And then our friend Emily Saylor, friend of the pod, is in 7th, and Alina Villamore is in 6th. Guys, if you have not followed Alina on Instagram, by the way, I would highly, highly commend her to you. Go look her up. She posted a video of herself doing 25.3, and she is a bilateral amputee. And for her, it was easiest to do it without her prosthetics on. So she sat on the ground and rowed. Just take that one in for a second. Like, she had the rower in half and was sitting on the ground, pulling on the rower, doing the rows in this workout. Absolutely insane. So, yeah, just a phenomenal athlete in Elena. And then let's see who else we got here. I honestly don't know a lot of other people in this division, but this one is stacked with some friends of the pod and two incredible athletes in Amy and Lauren. Also, one other thing I want to commend to you guys, since I'm commending things to you, there's an Instagram page called Culture RX, I believe. And they did a post recently about how to cover adaptive athletes in media. And it was really fascinating because they talked about how not to lead with the disability. And so, as someone who is part of this space, I think it's so natural for me to lead with the disability because I just feel like I'm talking to friends and we all live with this, and so we just lead with that. But they really stress the importance of just calling elite athletes elite athletes, full stop. And so I'm trying to adopt that language a little bit more when I talk about our leaderboards and what our fellow competitors are doing, because everybody who's on this leaderboard right now is a elite athlete in what they do. So let's see, lower impairment males, Ross Austin, looking good there in fourth. Good job, man. Good job. I think we got to have some fun. Dustin, you think we should go to neuromoderate? If we should, Dustin, give me a comment. You're gonna be the one who pulls me over to the dark side. So we're gonna, let's see here. Yeah, I don't recognize a ton of these guys. We'll go to lower BK ladies, and we've got Ingrid, Linda, Morgan Ramos is sitting there in eighth. I'm going to be interviewing Lexi. I'm blanking on her last name, but Lexi is a lower BK athlete, and she is not competing this year, but she's going to be on the pod. Let's go to major males. Neuro major males. Jeremy Dalton is sitting there in first. Oh, that reminds me. I'm not going to chase rabbit trails, but I'm going to give you guys something next that's really interesting. And who else in this division? John Verrett, I've seen him in the Facebook group for adaptive athletes, a strong group and a strong place for adaptives to gather. And let's see, anyone else in here? Nope, that's a big division. Holy moly. Holy moly. Jeff Livingston down here. Oh, I hope he didn't get injured. Usually he would put more in. All right. So the reason I kind of had a little aha moment when I was looking at lower or neuromuscular major is because, John's also a Hemi. Awesome, Dustin. Thanks for that. Oh, whoops. Here, let me show that so that people aren't just reading what I'm saying. John Verrett is also a Hemi. One thing that is interesting about reclassification and how people move around is our friend Russell Almendinger is actually competing in seated 2 this year. So seated with hip function right there in sixth. And I'm excited to see how he does in seated 2. He's holding up pretty well. I mean, this is a tough division. Tom Miazga sitting there in first. Brett Palzer in fourth. Brett is also a phenomenal athlete. Mike down here in eighth. Just signal boosting more things that are crazy in the world of adaptive athletics. If you go to Instagram, you can see Mike doing a high rocks competition and doing the burpee broad jumps from his chair. Insane. It's been shared so many times. It's absurd. Dustin. Dustin says he might be wrong. So we're going to ignore Dustin, but we're not going to ignore Dustin when he says we're going to go look at the neuromoderate males division. So this is a fun division. I can break this one apart for a while because this is my division. And I said I was going to stay away from it in the earlier 2 shows. And I think that's because it was kind of just, I don't know, it was looking rocky there a little bit for me. And I didn't want to let my own feelings about it kind of sway into the conversation. But this is our division. I say, me and Dustin's division. Kevin won it last year. Evan was second last year as well, but didn't make it out to the games. I'm hoping he'll make it out to the games this year. George Simmons Gooding is a great man based out of the UK. Good friend, even better athlete. I think he's the oldest. I think he's the oldest one in our division. Definitely, if we get to the games, he'll be the oldest one. But he's a hoss. New. I haven't met him yet. Austin Roth. Okay, Austin is phenomenal. He also sniped me on 24.3. If you can see that there, 14.22 for both of us on that. Although do that math on that final row, that was pretty good on my end. I'll take that one. But Austin trains out of CrossFit Invictus, and he just got a grant from the Challenged Athletes Foundation. So there's a video of him telling his story on Instagram, which is really, really cool. James Sutliff is out of the UK. I don't know his whole story, but some of the content he posts is really interesting. He's got a cute little baby boy at home. Super fun. Heck of an athlete. Great times on these workouts. Kyle Irwin, haven't met him. I don't know who that guy is in 8th, but look at, if you do the math on that row time, that final row was 1:38. 1:38 for 35 calories. I don't know. Not too bad. Not too shabby. Loic, I haven't met him. John Garson is training out of Sin City CrossFit. So if we make it to the games this year, Sin City CrossFit is right there in Vegas. So I think it's in Vegas. Anyways, if it's Sin City CrossFit and it's not in Vegas, I have questions. So he's in Vegas and he is making a comeback this year. I love it. Seeing him in 10th. There's our boy Dustin McCallum there in 11th. Well done, my man. Well done. Consistent. Going down James Brown here in 13th. But based upon these scores, I mean, he should be higher on the leaderboard, but he didn't do 25.2 for some reason unbeknownst to me. And then Lucas Niven, who was a top 10 athlete last year. We met at the games. Good dude. He's sitting here in 17th. Brad Tomlinson's going to squeak into semis. Excited for that. I would love if there was a way for Brad to make it to the games this year. What a solid dude out of Australia. We met at the 2023 Wheelwood Games. And then moving down a little bit further, we've got Sam Wapshire sitting in 22nd at this point. This is before, by the way, video reviews and the scoreboard is finalized. These are not finalized leaderboard values, but Sam was also featured on today's episode of the podcast. So Sam trains out of Virginia and is a great, great dude. Also, he's got a story about how he went and saw In the Heights with Lin-Manuel Miranda in the cast when he was in high school. Just a complete luck of the draw sort of thing. Tony Nelson in 27th. Tony was at the 2023 Wheelwood Games. Marcus in 29th. Marcus is active on Instagram. Good dude. And that might be it for people that I know in this division, except for one person down here at the very end, Blake Sasson. Blake has CMT like George does, actually. So it's a wasting disease of the extremities, especially the neuropathy in the hands and the feet. So they have very small ankle joints and wrist joints and that kind of stuff. But Blake Blake will have to correct me on this, and I know he's not watching, but he had trouble getting classified or something wasn't working for him with neuromuscular moderate. And so he actually did the workouts in upper minor, I think. I don't remember. But he did it in upper 2-point. That's what he did. He did them in upper 2-point because he can do things like bar muscle ups and that kind of stuff. And so he was just posting those on Instagram doing that. So if you want to see another athlete, follow Blake Sison on Instagram. Got a cute kid and just post some nice content. Nick Pasquane shouting out the episode today. Thank you, sir. It was a fun episode. Sam's a great dude. One fun thing that Sam, this will be a fun leaderboard to look at real quick. If we go to other competitions, Sea Dog. Is it one word? I guess it is. The Sea Dog Summer Showdown, April 5th to 6th. Let's go to divisions. Where's my leaderboard? Oh, they probably don't have I wonder if they don't have a leaderboard active yet. Bummer. Oh, man. Let me see if I can see a leaderboard real quick. I'm not going to make you guys wait around for this for too long. Leaderboard. Nope. Hold on. Leaderboard. Click here to see our leaderboards. Come on. Nope. Okay. Well, this is not entertaining for you guys. So, Sam, Dustin, and me are all competing at Sea Dog. And I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be April 5th and 6th. Sea-Dog has a combined neuro field. So it's going to be me, Sam, Dustin, and then whoever else sign up for neuro. And right now, I can't find that information. I guess they haven't taken their leaderboard live on Competition Corner to be able to see who all signed up, but that's okay. But it'll be really fun to get to throw down with those guys. We're gonna get an Airbnb together. Maybe we'll do a live show from the house. That'll be fun. All three boys hanging out, throwing down on some workouts. It'll be a lot of fun, especially because it's 6 workouts over 2 days, which is a really nice. I think that's a really nice mix of volume, and I think they can test a couple of different things. I know there's a complex coming at us. I know there's going to be some good stuff. Sam's going to get to crush a complex. I'm just looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a good competition. So it'll be exciting to do that with them. So let's see. I don't know if there's anybody else. I mean, well, upper 1 point. I mean, you got Victor right there, just crushing it, doing great. Let's see where Lloyd is. Lloyd. Okay, Steven in 11th. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Make it happen. And actually, I think Lloyd's upper 2 point. He is upper 2 point. There it is, 5th place. And then, guys, this episode hasn't aired. Oh, Casey's in. I didn't realize Casey was competing this year. Lloyd's there. Okay, guys. Someone you gotta get on your radar if you don't have him on your radar already. Falky. John Falkenberg. Dude is calling his shot for this year. I think he's got it. I mean, I think he's got a good chance at podium in the short stature division, but he is just a phenomenal dude. Really has high hopes for this year. I'm rooting for him. I think he's just a great dude. Friend of the pod. His episode hasn't aired yet, but you'll get to hear his episode in April sometime. I think we'll be doing that. So looking forward to that. Speaking of the podcast, actually, let me see if I can pull this piece of information up. I'm going to throw this up for a second in case anybody else wants to hop into the show, but I'm going to grab this image file. Yeah, there it is. Boop. So you guys are getting exclusive stuff here. I haven't posted this yet, so nobody knows that this is coming. But here's our upcoming shows. So we've got Abby Phillipson. She trains adaptive athletes at the University of Michigan. She actually trains adaptive Paralympians at the University of Michigan. Follow her on Instagram. She's been putting some viral stuff out that is hilarious about modifications for seated athletes. If you've seen it, it's amazing. March 24th, we're going to have Megan Gleason on. She is not a CrossFitter, but she is a para climber. Actually placed second at U.S. Nationals. And now that para climbing is an Olympic sport and recognized for the Paralympics, she has a good chance to make it to LA for the 28 Paralympic Games. She has right side CP like me, Dustin, and Sam, and probably a few other athletes in the wheelwad community. March 27th, we're going to have multi-time podium athlete Brett Horcher on the show. Looking forward to that. Followed, actually, this is going to be 2 bangers in a row. March 31st, we're going to have Tom Miazga, who I think is the 8-time fittest seated man. I don't know. I'll have to get all the deets from Tom. But I'm also going to try and not make it oh my gosh, all your accolades stuff. I've got a lot of really fun questions for Tom about mindset and how he just trains to the edges of his limits, which is just so cool. April 7th is going to be Meg McCrate. She was an upper 2 point and is actually competing this year in upper 1 point. She has Erb's palsy, like Emily Carnes, like Stephen Walker, and she's competing in upper 1 point this year. So she actually, let's see how, I think, female upper 1 point. Boop. Yeah, she's doing, where's she at? That's weird. Am I missing something here? Am I on an old leaderboard? No. Well, I'm not seeing Meg on here, but it could just be the time of the night in my brain. Not working right. I am positive she is upper 1 point. Okay, well, we'll see where Meg is. But then we've got John Falkenberg, who I just mentioned as a short stature athlete, joining us on April 14th. So you may also notice that we're spacing our episodes out starting in April. We were releasing on Mondays and Thursdays. Starting in April, we're going to be dropping on Mondays only. The reason for that is I've got a lot of interviews already backed up. I've got enough content to push me through semis, and your friendly host here would be rather disappointed in himself if he spent too much time on his podcast and didn't give semis a good shot. So you're your friendly host here is going to buckle up for semis and try and hit it hard and get himself back to the Adaptive CrossFit Games in 2025 in Vegas. So that means the podcast won't be on autopilot by any stretch of the imagination. We'll still have fresh content coming out. It just won't be coming out as frequently as it is right now. Let's see. Anybody else? I don't have any other comments coming in. Kirsten, I'm going to bring you back in for a sec. We'll talk a little bit more, and we'll see if anybody else hops on to the studio. I'm going to bump this out of the way, throw this up, and throw me and Kirsten in here. Wait for it. Wait for it. Boop. There we go. Yeah, you're back. Hey, welcome again. Welcome again. This is just such a fun experiment to just see how the community's doing, how they're responding. I know we're getting good views on the podcast, and so it's fun to just see people engaging with the stories. And I'm trying to just create a space where adaptive athletes can get together and basically, be like elite athletes, have all their spaces to get together and hang out and have talk shows. You've got the whole Savan podcast world. You've got all these other Talking Elite Fitness, all these other podcast spaces where elite athletes can go for days, but adaptives don't quite have the same space. So trying to create that.
Much appreciated, because we need more visibility. I'd love to see these division grow. I know a lot of people keep talking about like masters or age group categories for the adaptive. So I'd love to see it grow to where we have those like options available to us.
Yeah. Yeah, man. As I'm getting older too, I'm turning 40. I'm turning 40 at the soon.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in one more year, but still, it just feels like, oh man, I'll take an adaptive masters division if I can get it.
Oh, hey, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. So are you a coach?
I am.
L1, L2?
L2.
Okay, great. What was that like getting your L2? Well, actually, I always love this conversation. L1, you go in for the seminar. Do you tell them ahead of time?
Yeah.
Did they know ahead? Did they really know ahead of time, or when you got into that squat breakout, were they like, what's happening?
Well, I wear the AFO, so it's kind of like, whatever. And I put it like when they ask, things, I definitely put it in the paperwork, because when I got my L1 when I was like a year out from having my cancer and the surgeries and everything. So I was a lot less functional then than I am now. Just did my L2 like back in July. And, I had Chuck Carswell was my flow master.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a really, really small class. I think there might have been like 14 of us there. And, I was definitely like, they had the conversation. It's like, I'm not the guinea pig. They said that they wouldn't let that. I'm like, listen, you're going to coach an adaptive athlete.
Right.
You got to have experience cueing. And if something doesn't work or doesn't move, you have to come up with something else. You just can't be like, oh, well, that didn't work. Next. So, it's always good to be the guinea pig. I'm good to like let people figure out how to do it, because it's not like if an adaptive athlete walks in, it's when you end up with someone that you need to do something extra for or research more for.
What did coaches do for you when you first walked into a CrossFit gym?
Well, like at the beginning, I just really try to hide that I had any issues like prior to cancer. I just try to always exist in the space with everybody else, even though it might take me like longer to learn a movement pattern or figure out what my body's doing. But like post everything, when I came back, I walked into the gym with a walker. One day we were doing like, cardio of choice. People are running, skiing. I'm like, I'm going to practice walking today. That's my cardio exercise without the walker. And like my coach was like, well, you're going to stay between the rig and the wall. And I'm like, okay.
Okay. Deal.
Deal. But like she was always really good about like setting things up where I could have like my own little corner, where I could just like leave all my equipment, where I wasn't really going to feel like I was like in the way, because everything was like different. And it just like learning and growing with me. We always have the conversation when we're doing any kind of exercise. I'm like, okay, where should I feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we were stretching something. I'm like, where should I feel this? And she's like,
Yeah.
going to hamstrings. I'm like, oh, okay. That's why I'm not getting the same thing. So I had to change some things up, or I'm like, hey, this isn't working like it should. Where should I be working from? Or like, how can I adapt this? So, it's just kind of like a learning and growing process for the both of us.
Yeah, I love that. I also have to ask the question, where should I be feeling this? I'll sometimes like ask a coach like, hey, can you actually touch the muscle that's supposed to be contracting? Like, can
Yes.
you put your hand on my lat? If you want me doing a lat pull down or engaging my lat more in a pull up, I'm gonna need you to like grab my lat or like poke it so that I can kind of tell.
Yeah. And feel when I'm not, or like there's been times where like I think I'm doing something
Hmm.
and I'm totally not. I'm
Right.
like, oh yeah, I'm totally engaged there. And then like she'll video, or like, she'll be like, no, it's not. And I'm like, was that better?
Hmm.
I thought I felt it more. And then it's like, no. I'm like, okay,
Yeah. 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 And for you, is it also upper body? Is it any part of your upper, just that leg?
it's really mostly the leg, and
Okay.
everything else just like, you know, like learning how to move, or like, engage this, engage that. I'm like, okay, I think I'm doing it, but I'm
Hmm.
probably not. And just like learning how my body moves in space
Yeah.
um,
That
was
makes
always a
sense.
thing. But currently, everything with the upper body is pretty stable. Like
Okay.
I have some narrowing of the nerve signaling on my like left side. But it's not impacting. I still have full range of motion, full feeling. So I'm not currently presenting with any like weakness there, but we just kind of keep everything in check to make sure that I don't develop something. So like every 2 years, I have to have like a full, from the hip to the head, MRI done
Oh, fun.
to check spinal signaling. It's the worst 3.5 hours of my life.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, yeah. You just have to meditate basically.
Yeah, well, there's times like I tell mom, like, listen, it just gets so hot when you're stuck in
Yeah.
for that long. I'm like, I'm gonna need to take breaks. I'm not gonna get off the table, but you're gonna have to pull me out. And one time they started like just taking the shoulders off the gown. They had to get like ice on me just because I
Oh,
was
wow.
get so like sweating in there.
Mhm.
But it's just another thing that we all go through.
Yeah.
Um, Having an impairment that most people don't realize. Sometimes it's not the things that we do in the gym that are the most difficult, but like everyday life.
Right. Yeah. What's one thing that is really difficult for you in your everyday life?
Um, so, uh, stairs,
Okay.
like
That makes
going
sense.
stairs, and my house is all on the second floor. So,
Nice.
um, and when they told me I was going to lose function in my leg and I'm not going to be able to, do whatever, like my first thought, not that I live upstairs. It's not that it was my right leg and how I'm going to drive. How am I going to shower? None of that was like my first thought. My first thought was like, how am I going to CrossFit?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like a little messed up sense of priority there. But that was like
Mm.
my first thing. I had to get a second handrail installed so I can get up and down the stairs a little bit easier. Now I can go up fairly well, but like going downstairs, I still need to have something to hold on to.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So you had to modify your house, I mean, to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I got a
crazy.
the one handrail, I got one put in on both sides so I can always like grab onto it no matter like which direction I'm going. Like I always feel
Mhm.
more stable if I'm grabbing on with my right side to help
Yeah.
stabilize where I don't have the like power in the leg. But yeah, so I got a second handrail put in.
And what does your AFO do? It just keeps your
Um,
ankle from dropping, right? Your foot from
yeah,
dropping?
I actually have one that has like an articulated ankle joint.
Okay.
So like the first one they usually give you in the hospital is like, hey, what's your shoe size? And then they give you something.
Yeah.
So it like did its job for a while. But I got one that has like it helps me maintain that like dorsal and plantar flexion
Mhm.
um, by adding like a little like resistance and kickback to it because I can't do that on my own. So I have one that kind of allows the ankle to bend and give me a little bit more of a reflex there, but it has to keep my toes pretty straight up so they don't drop onto the ground.
Yeah. Otherwise, you'll just trip over your foot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean it's a thing. It was probably a thing beforehand, but It's
But it
worse.
got worse. Yeah, worse now. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Well, are you hoping to make it to Vegas this year?
Yeah, I'm doing everything I can to get there.
Yeah. And were you at the 2023 games in Raleigh?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I saw you there. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That was my second year. My first year up there was 2022.
Okay.
And then last year at the, adaptive game. So
Hmm.
hoping to make it back.
Yeah. Yeah. That'll be good. It'll be good. All right, Kirsten. Well, I'm gonna kick you off. I don't know what the right word for it. I'm gonna say goodbye. There we go. I'm
Okay.
gonna say goodbye, and I'm gonna wrap up the show, and we'll see you the next time we do one of these. I don't know when
Yeah.
it's gonna be. I gotta maybe it'll definitely be post semis. Like okay, let's see how semis went. That kind of
Yeah.
vibe. So we'll see.
All right. Sounds
All right.
good.
Thanks so much for joining us
Yep.
tonight, Kirsten.
Hmm.
All right. Oh, what does that symbol over your head mean? The Chinese
Oh,
symbol.
that is Mudo. So it's the Marshall Way. I'm actually a second degree black belt as
Oh,
well.
very cool.
I earned my second degree after my surgery and everything, but yeah, like I had trained for a long time and just kind of like matches the house well. So
Yeah, there you go. My 6-year-old decided he wanted to learn Chinese, and so on
yeah.
Saturdays we do like 30-minute Chinese lessons with him over Zoom, and he's learned "Wo Hen Hao," which is like I guess I'm having a good day.
Oh,
So I'll ask him, "How was your day at school?" And he'll say "Wo Hen Hao," or if he didn't have a good day, he'll be like "Wo Boo Hao," and apparently that's not a good day.
oh,
Yeah,
that's so awesome. I love when like they take interest in stuff like that.
right. Yeah, yeah. Just so random.
Yeah,
Yeah, and now with like technology, you can just be like, "Oh, okay, we'll hop online and just get you Chinese lessons."
yeah.
Why
It's
not?
great. Like information's so accessible, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, thanks so much for being with us, Kirsten.
All right.
I'll see
Yeah.
you later.
See ya.
Bye. All right, guys. So for tonight's show, we have been going for about 50 minutes. I'm going to give us about 5 more minutes. I'm just going to kind of wrap up a few things related to the open season, some thoughts that I have, some hopes that I have for semis, some hopes that I have for this year, some hopes that I have for this podcast, this community that we're kind of creating. This is a live stream, so you guys will be able to watch it afterwards. So I hope some of you hop back into this thing and get to watch it in full. I know content is pervasive nowadays. There's a lot of stuff you can watch and listen to, but I think this adaptive content is distinct. It's voices of regular everyday people that are often overlooked in society. Think about how often you go to the grocery store or out in your life and see somebody who is missing a limb or is using a wheelchair. Um, we don't see them that often, and it's not because they don't exist. It's because society isn't really created, spaces aren't created for them to be able to be comfortable and for spaces to be accessible for them. So, something for you to think about if you're a gym owner, if you're a coach, is are your spaces accessible? Are they something that someone who came in with an impairment would feel like, hey, I can feel comfortable in this space. I can get my wheelchair up the ramp into this space. There is a ramp into this space, right? Those things to think about. Do you have equipment that is ready to support somebody who might come in seated? Have you researched ways that seated athletes need adaptations or lower limb amputees or upper limb amputees, right? Have you researched that kind of stuff? There's tons of stuff on Instagram, tons of examples of coaches, of athletes adapting, making things work for them. There's an entire company called Equip Products, Mark and Dana, that exist just to create solutions for adaptive athletes. We talked about it, I think, in the episode last week when Dustin and Jocelyn joined us, but about how honoring it feels when adaptive athletes are given opportunities to do unique things because a company decides to create a really weird mono rope for them. And so they get an experience at the games that's like, whoa, what is this thing? And we all get to figure it out, just like able bodied athletes get to figure out things like the alpaca sled or a massive pig flip, those kinds of things, right? Getting adaptive athletes to be able to have those kinds of experiences, that matters. And so people like Mark and Dana make that happen. They run Equip Products. You can follow them on Instagram at Equip Products. And so if you're curious about things that you could have at your gym, they have a ton of options of things that are available. Would you think that a way a seated athlete could use an Echo bike would be by actually facing the bike from the fan side and pulling on the handles? Well, that's fascinating, right? Like they can get an upper body workout pulling the handles of that Echo bike. And the one problem with that is the monitor of the Echo bike actually faces the other way. So Mark and Dana have developed a product that flips that Echo bike screen so that the person who is using the handles can actually still read the screen and monitor their own pacing and what they're trying to do and accomplish and train just like an able-bodied athlete should be able to do. They also have things like lap mats, which help protect seated athletes when they're doing barbell movements and stuff like that. If you saw Roderick and Kevin Ogar going head to head in 25.3, you saw a lot of products out there that were helping them do what they needed to do, from multi ropes to lap mats, things that enable adaptive athletes to modify the workout to fit the stimulus for them. So that's the kind of stuff that we like to talk about around here. We also like to just interview the athletes and hear their stories, so that you can understand why that athlete that you might be seeing on a CrossFit video is featured on a CrossFit video, right? Maybe it doesn't look like they have an impairment. Maybe it doesn't look like it in the video because they're a neuro athlete and so they have all their limbs, right? And they're standing. They're not seated. They're not missing a limb, but they still have an impairment. This is the place where we're going to tell those stories. We're also going to tell stories of seated athletes and athletes with amputations or traumatic experiences that led to them missing a limb. So that's kind of what we're doing here. We'll be doing it for a while. You saw our upcoming schedule. I'll throw that up one more time in case anybody is curious. Not that one, though. Remove that one. So this is our upcoming schedule. This is where you can find us. We'll be on Instagram, and you'll see all of our episodes drop there, but you'll also be able to subscribe to them if you go wherever you get podcasts and search The Adaptive Athlete and look for this kind of distinct neon yellow green color. That's our podcast. And so you'll be able to hear episodes with a ton of athletes. We just did our 9th episode today. So there's 8 other episodes out there, 9 total episodes that you can listen to hear the stories of adaptive athletes. I bring them to you only because I have a passion for this. My job and my life has sort of revolved around technology and talking to people. And so I knew soon when I got into this space that what I wanted to do was use the intersection of those technologies, or of those interests, technology and talking to people, to create something for adaptive athletes so that they can have a space where their stories can be told, where they can share what got them to where they are, what shaped them, what their biggest highs were, and what some of their lowest lows were. And through all of that, we can learn from each other, and other non-adaptives can learn as well about how to coach, how to support, how to advocate for adaptive athletes. So all that said, I've talked a lot tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. We are going to be back sometime around semis. No guarantees, but subscribe to the podcast, The Adaptive Athlete. You can also follow us on Instagram. Wait for it. Boop. At The Adaptive Athlete Podcast. We'll be putting out episodes and stuff there. Thanks so much for joining us. And let me see how I want to exit out of this thing. I'm looking for feeding the ducks. You guys want some feeding the ducks? Wait for it. That's not working. I don't know why that's not working. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's the good stuff. Guys, we are going to just feed the ducks. I'm going to turn some stuff off here. You can follow us. I'm going to get my face. That removed my audio. He should know this stuff. He's techie. Those are our upcoming episodes. This is where you can follow us on the podcast. I'm Matt Hotho. I'll see you guys next time.